Well, looking at the Ring of Honor selections, the Bulls have only retired four numbers as it sits now, and that's not counting Bill Russell, who's now retired across the NBA.
Okay.
His number 6. Jerry Sloan, his number 4. Bob Love, his number 10. Michael Jordan, 23, and Scottie Pippen, of course, 33. Those all retired numbers. And when you look at the Ring of Honor inductees, though, we have Tony Kukoc, Chet Walker, Artemis Gilmore, Dennis Rodman, all who have not been retired. But why do you feel like they get added to this first class?
Because I think it's warranted. I think that's even different than basically hanging somebody's jersey in the Raptors. I think, the Ring of Honor of guys that have contributed to some of those championships there. But I don't know if, does Tony Kukoc, does he really worthy to have his jersey retired in Chicago? I'll leave that up to Bulls fan debate. I don't think that's as polarizing as a opinion on Paul Gasol, because again, Chicago doesn't have a history of retiring jerseys as you just laid out. When we talk about Lakers, look how many jerseys and banners they got. When we talk about Celtics, look there. It's an easy debate to see, does Paul Gasol really deserve to be up there with the Kareems, the Shaqs, the Kobe, the Magics, the Worthies? But when it comes to the Bulls, I just think that, for one, they haven't made it a big deal to do retirement jerseys, and they're just now introducing this in 2023. Because I do believe, like, if you've had a history of the Bulls, of that kind of run, and we're in 2023, heading to 2024 here in a month, less than a month, it's kind of be late. It's a lot late to be heading in a Ring of Honor, in my opinion. But that old saying goes, better late than never. But I think, Jonas, they look at it, it's just two different things in regards to their Ring of Honor and really, retiring somebody's jersey up there.
Well, that's fair. Kukoc, Hall of Fame. Did you think? And so my next question is moving forward, right? As we move forward, could one day Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, he's getting a lot of buzz around Twitter right now, or X, however you want to call it. In terms of, do they see their names added one day to the Ring of Honor, or could you could you see maybe even Derrick Rose getting number 1 retired? For an amazing career, kind of obviously not cut short, but his potential was cut short because of injuries. But do we see Rodman's number 91 maybe one day retired, and now he's in the Ring of Honor? And then moving forward, can we see Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, whatever, make the Ring of Honor or even retired numbers?
Well, I will tell you this, and I love me some Noah. Grew up watching his dad play tennis. There's nothing that justifies Joakim Noah getting his jersey retired as a Bull. No. They didn't really win anything when he was there. They went through a little glimmer of hope in that Thibodeau and Rose's early years. Derrick Rose, it's a sad situation because technically I wouldn't have recorrected, because I do feel, even though he's still playing, he's on an active roster, he left, came back, his career was cut short. The guy was amazing his rookie year coming out of Memphis. Just the knee injury, that first round, that playoff game, it was all hell. It was all hell, down the hills from there. That's a tough one, man. I'm not a fan of watering things down. Especially when you're talking about, if you're going to Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, the guys that won a total of 6 rings to that franchise. Derrick Rose, I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit there and tell you. And isn't Derrick, if I'm not mistaken, Derrick's from the Chicago area, right? I think, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I thought maybe he was around the Chicago type of area, grew up around that area. He's from that area, if I'm not mistaken.
Born Inglewood, Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah, okay. That's why I wanted to ask that. Yeah. Then yeah. So that's the factor.
Well,
that's the to me, that's the factor that tips it on, that if he is, okay, maybe I get it, but I think, let me just clarify myself, what he produced on the court, even though Rookie of the Year, I think he even was one of the MVP or in MVP conversations.
He was 08, 09 Rookie of the Year, 10, 11 MVP, 3-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA.
Even off of that, I don't know if I'm talking jersey-worthy retirement. But with the fact that that's a hometown kid, because if you factor that in, what is the chances of you really being born and raised in Chicago, and then growing up all through especially if you talk about where Derrick Rose is from and going through all that type of stuff and then going to Memphis and then getting drafted by Chicago. Off that, the hometown kid, yeah, I could see it if they decide to do that.
So you're seeing actually jersey retirement because the thing is when you introduce a Ring of Honor, it allows you to recognize those that maybe weren't the greatest. Again, Dennis Rodman was great, but is he the greatest? Is Dennis Rodman worthy of jersey retirement in Chicago? But he's definitely now, because you include him as not a retired jersey, but you include him in your first Ring of Honor. I feel like that opens the door for guys who maybe like you get to honor. Again, the Ring of Honor, without really having to go to the next step say we're taking your number off of the court.
Well, I think Dennis Rodman was one of the greats. I mean, Dennis Rodman's in the Hall of Fame, even though I don't hold the NBA Hall of Fame up to standards as hard as it is to get into the NFL or MLB. We've had that conversation on this program a lot of time over the years. But Dennis Rodman was one of the greats, rebounding and defensively. Bad Boys, Detroit Pistons, he won 2 rings with them, run there. So Dennis Rodman is no chopped liver.
Well, Dennis Rodman Bulls. Is Dennis Rodman Bulls worthy of having his number retired with the Bulls?
Yeah. If they did 91, if they did choose to do that, yeah. Those are some badass teams, man. They were kicking ass. I mean, 70 wins. I mean, that's a different era where you were bringing it every night. There was no load management. I know I'm going to sound like old man on the rocket chair, but the competition was thicker. The East was better. I mean, it's just the NBA players-wise. You got some guys in the NBA right now that have no business being in the NBA. I'm telling you, man, you see it in garbage time. You see it in blowouts. They're G League players and they're overseas college players. But you know what? They've got to fill rosters. And there is a thing called affirmative action in the NBA, believe it or not. It exists in life in general. But regardless of the situation is, hell yeah, Rodman, I could see that if they would see that doing it. Because he brought titles. He was part of a three-peat. He wasn't part of the original three-peat, but he was part of the second one. Derrick Rose is a good story. It's a feel-good story.
He's Ring of Honor worthy. Maybe not jersey. We'll see jersey. But he definitely Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor, yes, because Ring of Honor is really about acknowledging your greats of your organization, not in the sport. That has nothing to do with it. Like, you can go look at, I think there's some players, maybe 1 or 2 players that are in the Ring of Honor in Dallas that might not even be in the Hall of Fame. I might misspoke when I said that, but the bottom line is they're separate. The Ring of Honor that teams do have nothing to do about whether they're one of the greats of basketball ever, which Dennis Rodman was one of the greats in Chicago and the NBA. But for the most part, teams that honor Ring of Honor is not... It's not about were you one of the greats in the sports. It's are you one of the greats for this franchise?
Well, I feel like that's what the jersey's about. You take their number off the court because they're one of the greats for your franchise.
Yeah, it can all go hand in hand. But what I'm telling you is that the Ring of Honor is not judged if you're one of the greats in the sport. It's judged if you're one of the greats of the organization.
So you think that jerseys is judged by greats of the sport? I mean, that's why we have the Basketball Hall of Fame. Is to be the greats of the sport. The jersey has always been a local nod. No other Spur will wear number 21.
Because you've accomplished so
like
much
Avery
in that.
Johnson, his number 6 has been retired.
Yeah, because
but if the Spurs had a Ring of Honor, would you say that Avery Johnson is more worthy of just Ring of Honor nod recognition? Hey, we will always remember you.
He's worthy,
or is he jersey retirement?
He's worthy of both. Because what I'm trying to make sure you understand is that. Whether you talk the Cowboys, whether you talk the Bulls, Ring of Honor for franchises has nothing to do where you rank in the NBA or NFL. It doesn't. It's what you've accomplished in that uniform in that organization.
Let me flip this real quick. We got just over a minute coming down. Denver Nuggets, number 15. Carmelo and Joker, both number 15. You can retire 15 with Joker's name on it.
Yeah.
But Carmelo would make the Ring of Honor. You wouldn't retire his number. But you would recognize him in the Ring of Honor.
Well, I think you're past the retiring his number because if you were going to retire his number, Joker would have never got 15. Carmelo's been long and gone and from Denver forever. If you were going to, now it wouldn't make sense, but prior, if they had any intentions to retire Carmelo's number, which could have maybe been justified, but doubted, it didn't end well with him and George Karl in Denver, but Joker would have never got 15. It's too late to think about that now.
But that's where you could give Carmelo the thank you. We'll put you in our Ring of Honor.
That's fine.
But you're not the greatest 15 ever.
Okay, we'll continue that. But